Chapter 18, Limbo. Beloved Gnostic brethren, on this Christmas night of 1967, I want you to know that all of the known and unknown caves from abroad and uninterpreted web, which embraces the planet Earth in its entirety. Beloved Gnostic brethren, on this Christmas night of 1967, I want you to know that all of the known and unknown caves form a broad and uninterrupted web, which embraces the planet Earth in its entirety. These caves constitute the Orko of the classic Greeks, the Limbo of Christian esotericists, in short, the other world in which we live after death. Dante Alighieri found Limbo in the first circle of the infernal worlds, or rather inferior worlds. Indeed, we can emphatically affirm that Limbo is the region of the dead, the molecular world. Blasphemies and complaints from condemned souls are never heard within Limbo. Only sighs. These sighs are the outcome of grief without torment. Sighs that are uttered by a multitude of men and women and children whose entrance into the kingdom was not possible. It is urgent that you, beloved Gnostic brethren, know that the souls that are in Limbo did not sin, and if they had sinned, they have repented. Some of these souls, while still physically alive, had acquired many merits and virtues, beauty and innocence. However, these elements were not enough in order to attain entrance into the kingdom. They lacked the main requirement, the work with the spermatic waters of existence. They did not know the Arcanum AZF, the Sahaja Maituna, or sexual magic. I'll add here that it's also because their ego isn't totally eliminated, so they still belong to lower dimensions. They're not totally pure yet. So maybe a lot of deeds and some virtues, but not totally pure. If somebody had talked to them about it, they only rejected it, believing that they could enter into the kingdom without the waters of baptism. It is relevant to clarify once and for all, beloved brethren, that baptism clearly and specifically symbolizes the sexual work with the ens seminis, within which the whole ens virtuti of the fire is found in a potential state. The baptismal font symbolizes sex, within which the spermatic waters of the first instant are contained. The philosophical stone of ancient medieval alchemists, upon which we must edify our interior temple, is sex. Peter, the great master of sex, said, "Behold, I lay in Sion a chief cornerstone, elect, precious, and he that believe on it shall not be confounded. Unto you, therefore, which believe he is precious, but unto them which be disobedient, the stone which the builders have disallowed, the same is made the head of the corner, and a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense." 1 Peter 1, 6-8. Whosoever wants to ascend must first of all descend. This is the law. Remember that sex is a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense. It is urgent to descend into the ninth sphere, sex, in order to work with the water and the fire origin of worlds. The origin of worlds, beasts, human beings, and gods. Every authentic white initiation begins here. Now, he just said that sex is the stone of stumbling, but really more specifically, fornication is the stumbling stone, and sex practiced properly in alchemy is the chiseled foundational stone, the refined stone. Since ancient times, the descent into the ninth sphere was the highest trial to prove the supreme dignity of the Hierophant. Jesus, Hermes, Buddha, Muhammad, Moses, the Holy Lama, and so on, had to pass through this difficult ordeal. It is urgent to build the solar bodies in the flaming forge of Vulcan, when it is prohibited to assist the Lord's banquet with lunar bodies, beggars' clothing. Into the flaming forge of Vulcan, into the ninth sphere, Mars descends in order to retemper his flaming sword and conquer the heart of Venus. Hermes descends in order to clean the stables of Ugias, with the sacred fire. Perseus descends in order to cut off the head of Medusa. Within Limbo, Dante found many innocent children, patriarchs, and illustrious men who never descended into the ninth sphere. Thus, for no other evil, they are condemned. Their affliction is to live in constant desire without any hope. Many people with the highest values live in Limbo, and their only crime is that they have not built their solar bodies. Dante also found in Limbo supremely famous poets such as Homer, Naso, and Flaccus, the satirist. Thus, while floating in Limbo, Dante arrived at the foot of the magnificent castle, which was surrounded 7 times by lofty walls. Around the castle there was a pleasant stream which defended it. Thus he passed through 7 gates until he came upon a meadow with fresh, lively verdure, where he had found austere sages of great authority. Unfortunately, they were all dressed with lunar bodies. Within Limbo, Dante found Electra, accompanied by many, among whom he recognized Hector and Anchises, pious son, Aeneas. Within Limbo, Dante found Camilla, Penthesilea, and the good old king Latinus seated by his child Lavinia. Within Limbo, Dante found Brutus, he who chased Tarquin out of Rome, Lucretia, and Marcia, with Julia and Cornelia, and also soul apart retired. I don't know what that means. Also, soul apart retired, the Soldan or Sodan fierce. Within Limbo, Dante also found Socrates and Democritus, who pretended that the world was originated by chance. He also found Diogenes with Heraclitus and Empedocles and Anaxagoras and Thales or Thales, sage, Zeno, all of them very wise. Nonetheless, they were all dressed with beggars' clothing, the lunar bodies. Within Limbo, Dante found Dioscorides, the observer of quality, as well as the moralist Seneca, the geometrist Euclid and Ptolemy, and many other wise men from this lunar race. Within Limbo live many just men who worked for humanity and who dissolved the I, yet they committed the mistake of not building their solar bodies. One becomes astonished when one sees Mahatma Gandhi dressed with lunar bodies and living within Limbo. On a certain occasion, after having verified that the sacred fire had never ascended throughout the dorsal spine of Mahatma Gandhi, it was not inconvenient for me to address him and tell him the following: "You are without realization." He answered, "I did not have time for that." My final answer was, that excuse is not just. Indeed, Mahatma Gandhi could have built solar bodies in the flaming forge of Vulcan, sex, because he had a magnificent wife. However, he committed the mistake of abstinence. he believed that he could reach self-realization by renouncing sex. He was a sincere but mistaken soul. I also found Yogananda within a temple of Limbo. He was dressed with lunar bodies. He honestly believed himself to be self-realized. When I let him see his mistake, when I told him, "You are not self-realized," full of great amazement, he then tried to start a discussion with me. Thus, the intervention of the superior master of the temple was necessary in order for him to comprehend his situation. I will never regret the fact of having warned the great yogi, the noble Yogananda, that if he ever wants to enter into the kingdom, he has to reincorporate himself again into this physical world and get married. Thus, by working in the ninth sphere, he can build his solar bodies. Within Limbo, there live thousands of holy hermits, sublime yogis and noble mystics who felt disgusted by sex and who innocently believed that they could enter into the kingdom without lunar bodies, or rather with lunar bodies without solar bodies. Limbo is the region of innocence, of those mystics, saints, penitents who did not know the great arcanum, the Maituna. If they did know about it, they rejected it because they very honestly believed that based only on sexual abstinence, pranayamas, penitences, yogic exercises, and so on, they would attain a self-realization. That is why Peter stated that sex is a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense. And so just to be clear here, to clarify these types of realizations or attainments these masters have, most of these, all of these wise men are masters. They have attained enlightenment, liberation, but they're not self-realized, which is a different thing, right? They haven't self-realized the being. They're still young. They're not, they don't know themselves. They just have elemental enlightenment. They're elemental Buddhas. So they have to come back down to the physical world for the most part to continue working into a whole new round of evolution. But at least they avoid de-evolution by being in this state. But they have to go through the whole evolution process again before they can, as you said, for Yogananda, before they can really attain the bodhisattva level self-realization and be completely free from samsara. So thousands of pseudo-esoteric and pseudo-occultist schools exist within Limbo. These schools impart sublime knowledge onto their affiliated souls. Their knowledge does not harm anyone. On the contrary, it benefits everybody. Nonetheless, their knowledge unfortunately does not aid in their intimate self-realization, because these schools do not teach the gospel of Peter, the Sahaja Maituna. Thus, only Mercury, the messenger of the gods, the arch-magus, or magus, with his caduceus of Mercury, a symbol of the dorsal spine within which the serpents named Ida and Pingala are entwined, can by means of the Maituna evoke to a new life those unhappy souls who have precipitated into Limbo. Many have departed from within Limbo. The soul of our first father and Abel, his child, Noah the righteous man, Moses the lawgiver, the patriarch Abraham, King David, Israel with his father and with his sons, and with Rachel. All of these souls had to reincorporate into the physical world in order to work in the ninth sphere, to build their solar bodies. This is how they achieved the second birth. Now they are angels of the indescribable splendor. One is full of amazement when conversing with the angel Israel. All of the sublime verses of the Old Testament harmoniously resound within his solar aura.